Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 7 short stories for you from the Tales from Tech Support subreddit. Make sure to follow us on your preferred podcasting platform, and if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. And my buddy Carmen here just might share this giant cookie with you. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's get our nerd on. This story comes to us from Joe Don Fan. It'll be our little secret. Way back in the day, late in the last century, flat screen monitors were coming into vogue. I worked at big freaking law firm in Washington. And when I say big, I mean big. The firm counted presidents and congressmen and federal judges and entire countries among their clients. The partners had to have these monitors. Fortunately, the powers that are saw the cost of flat screens at the time and said, buy them yourselves. And they did. We had partners trading in 16-inch CRTs, which were nicely sized for the time, for significantly smaller LCDs. Go figure. One day, I was helping a partner with an issue, and I happened to notice he had a tiny 12-inch LCD monitor on his desk. I helped him with his issue, and as we wrapped up, he asked if I could take a look at something else. I just bought this monitor, he explained, and it's crooked, it doesn't sit straight. I gave him my initial speech for self-purchased hardware. I'll take a look and do what I can, but if it needs to be repaired, that's on you. Then took a look. Sure enough, it was slightly crooked. He installed it himself and ran the power cord underneath the monitor stand, so it was leaning slightly to one side. I tilted the monitor back, moved the cord out of the way, and set the monitor down straight. He looked at me and said, mostly to himself, "That's it? Christ." I looked at him. "Don't worry about it, sir. I won't even put in a ticket. It'll be our secret." He thanked me, and I've kept his secret for over 25 years. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Kuraboy1. It says, "The smartest people in the world can be some of the dumbest idiots in the world." OP responded and said, "I wouldn't say that. I still work in legal IT at a different firm, and I simply tell them, I've got my specialty and you've got yours. You don't fix your computer, and I won't argue in front of the Supreme Court." Another user down below called StarFury42 said, "I worked for a large law firm for 11 years, and can confirm they may be brilliant in the legal field, but have zero ability to function outside of that." The funny thing about this last comment is I can kind of understand it from the side of the lawyer. They've spent so much time learning their craft and so much time working and putting everything they have and every minute they have into being a lawyer that they just haven't had any time to learn anything else. OP was completely right when they said various people have various specialties, and honestly, they keep each other in a job, so we can't do without them. This story comes to us from The Farzin. "We just followed the rules." Working in IT, me and my friend had a decent gig. Nothing crazy, just coding, fixing bugs, the usual. Our manager, let's call her Karen, she had her rules, sure, but nothing too wild. Until one day, she dropped the new policy. "No more working on multiple tasks at once," she said. "Focus on one thing at a time, complete it, then move on." On paper, made sense. Less context switching, more efficiency. In reality, absolute nightmare. We tried to explain, hey, sometimes we need to switch while waiting on approvals or testing. She shut us down. "No, stick to the task, no exceptions." Okay then. A week in, tickets piled up, we were stuck waiting on feedback with nothing to do. Customers got mad, deadlines slipped. We tried again. "Look, this isn't working. You're just not adapting," she snapped. So we adapted by doing exactly what she wanted. No multitasking. If we hit a block, we sat there. No side tasks, no quick fixes, just waiting. Then the backlog exploded. Managers higher up noticed, clients complained. One day, Karen got called into a meeting. She came back looking different. Next morning, email from HR. She was out. New manager came in. First thing he said, "Hey, so you guys work how you used to, yeah?" "Yeah, we do." Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Star Chaser Tiger. It says, some people get a little power and find out they're allergic to it. Their head swells up, suffocating their brain. If workplaces would only spend some time putting their new managers into the positions that they're going to be managing, then things like this could be avoided. If they had to actually work in their department and learn the whole job, they might know what's going on. I've had a couple of workplaces that required everybody right up to the senior executives to actually work in one of the stores for at least 2 weeks before they actually took their position. That was one of the best managed companies I've ever been in. It's really something that all companies should do. This story comes to us from Rob Jeffrey. Tricky troubleshooting. The issues I like the most about tech support are the ones that make you think. We have laptops installed on push carts for the warehouse staff to use while picking orders. They're connected to the main server over Wi-Fi, which always brings in the tickets, but that's for another forum. We received numerous complaints that the laptops would shut off for no reason, and every time we checked them out, they were fine and, of course, couldn't be replicated. Batteries were fully charged. They were using them at the time, so they didn't time out. Nothing in the logs, all the usual things checked out. Nothing connecting these events could be found, so this went on for months and was rare enough the staff just came to accept it. Finally got around to watching their workflow to see what the heck could be happening that we twigged on what was going on. These carts were used to wheel around the warehouse to collect orders as they were being picked. We warehouse audio equipment, instruments, powered speakers, etc. Speakers. Speakers have big magnets. Yep, place one of the mid-sized powered speakers on the cart close enough to the laptop and she shuts down. Right. They have lid closer reed switches built into the screen bezel. A little magnet in the laptop shell by the keyboard spacebar, and a reed switch is in the screen's edge, so when the lid is closed, the switch turns off the screen. Turns out, the speaker magnet was at the perfect height to trigger this, and off she goes. Computers are fun. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called I Don't Want to Sign In. It says, this happened to a coworker of mine. She used to watch YouTube and videos and other crap with their phone propped up right at the edge of her laptop during meetings. We obviously knew what was going on, but she pretended we didn't. When she got called on, she would reposition it and pretend like it wasn't there the whole time. Say or do something, then prop it back up. Anyway, she got a new computer and suddenly she's fidgeting like mad because the laptop keeps sleeping on her when she gets called on. A magnet or something in the case kept triggering the lid close trigger just like on your carts. Don't know if she ever figured it out, but we never said a thing. This one reminded me of a story I heard probably on Reddit a very long time ago about a user who was using old floppy disks and doing a backup of their system at the end of every day. And then when they went to look at the backup the next day, it would be completely garbled and useless. So when the tech went out to see what was going on, they realized that this guy was doing his backup, then taking the floppy disk and attaching it to his filing cabinet with a magnet. This story comes to us from Ducky Shot. Users would be almost cute if they weren't so stupid. My phone rings today. Salesman, could you come by my office here quick? I trudge around the corner towards the hallway and arrive at his office 20 seconds later. He takes me over to his computer and proceeds to show me his email. I had this email show up and I can't get into it. It says something about spam or something, but when I go into it, it gave me a sign-in page and it didn't work. I gaze at the email entitled, Payment for Your Services, emblazoned with a bright yellow banner covering about a quarter of the page that has been helpfully provided by our email provider, informing my user that this email might be spam or a phishing scheme, and that they should beware, while trying to compute his informing me that he did read the warning and it registered enough that he told me about it, while also implying that he fell for whatever was in it. So you saw the big banner. Salesman cuts me off while clicking the link. So I clicked on the link here and it brought me to this page. Computer opens up a spoof page requesting his email and password. Were you expecting anything like this in your email? No. As he's typing in his password into the spoof page, then what are you doing? Trying to see what it's about. Hits enter. Well, we definitely need to change your password now. How do I do that? Can you do it for me? Sigh. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Angry Cod. It says, so that's a mandatory referral to security for an incident report and HR for remedial cybersecurity training. Then a message to his boss that his account has been temporarily disabled and he's not allowed to touch a computer until said training is complete. Another commenter down below called Offseer said, sometimes you want to hit delete and a trapdoor opens under that user and they're never seen or heard from again. Does anybody else feel like if this guy did go through any cybersecurity training, that they weren't paying one lick of attention through the whole thing? I feel like somebody who is this bad at it though wouldn't be in the company for very long. A warning that takes up a quarter of the email screen and they still clicked on it to see what would happen. Ugh. This story comes to us from Sky Guardian of the Sky. The secret power of IT support. Computer intimidation. Look, sometimes things just don't work and we don't know why. And sometimes they do work and we also don't know why. I like to imagine it's because computers are dark empaths and can sense if you are not confident or in a hurry and consequently try to make your day as painful as possible. And conversely, if a computer senses it's misbehaving and someone has to come see what all the trouble is, it'll suddenly be on its best behavior. One particular magical example of this was a call I received some time ago from a rather stressed out admin clerk who had apparently been having constant issues with Excel all day where it wouldn't let them type anything in. I suspected that it was probably something like being stuck in read-only mode. However, literally the minute I remoted into their computer and asked them to show me where the issue is stemming from, all of a sudden, they could type in Excel again. How did you do that? I've been trying to get this to work all day. Dog, I wish I knew. Now that Excel is working for them, I let them go and carry on with other junk that needs doing. Barely 10 minutes later, I get a call from the same person for the same issue. Apparently, as soon as I stopped remoting in, they couldn't type in Excel anymore. So once again, I remote in, and once again, as soon as I do so, they can type in Excel again. At this point, I offered to just let my remote access run in the background so they could do their work in Excel, but they turned down the offer since they were about to clock out anyway. And this isn't an isolated case. I've had countless cases where as soon as I arrive on scene to assess why application doesn't work, it starts working again. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called S'mores. It says, also known as the demo effect. As soon as you try to show someone something broken, it miraculously starts working just to spite you. Another commenter down below called Pegzo3000 said, I don't think I've had anywhere remoting in has fixed it, but I have definitely had times where it worked when I do it. Usually this is just a case of user error. I have had other times where it starts working as soon as I turn up to their office and I don't need to do anything. My very quick, uneducated diagnosis of the situation in the original post here is that the user has a key stuck on their keyboard, and that's why they can't type into Excel. But when the remote in goes, it either disables the keyboard, or it has some kind of security feature that stops them from messing with the remote in, and that disables whatever key that is. So at that point, they're able to type in Excel. Probably what the issue is in this case, but I'd love to know what you all think, so comment down below if you're on YouTube or on Spotify, and let me know. This story comes to us from Geotechie, the case of the keyboard crisis. It was one of my first days on the job as an IT help desk technician, and I was still finding my rhythm. Figuring out the balance between sounding confident and not making it obvious, I had just Googled something 5 minutes earlier. At around 10 a.m., the call came in. On the other end was a man, sounded like he was in his early 40s, clearly stressed. Hi, yeah, my keyboard's not working, I've got reports to finish, and nothing's typing, the whole thing's just dead. I considered walking him through some steps over the phone, but judging by the tone of his voice and a gut feeling, I decided it would be better to head down to his department and handle it in person. Besides, I could use the walk and the chance to look useful. When I arrived, he was standing over his desk, arms crossed like he was trying to intimidate the keyboard into working. "Hey," I greeted, keeping things light. "Keyboard's giving you trouble?" He nodded. "Yeah, it just stopped working out of nowhere. I didn't change anything." I crouched beside the machine and started with the basics. I checked the wireless dongle. Yep, it was there. Just in case, I unplugged it and plugged it back in. Nothing. Still dead. "Okay," I said, "when's the last time you changed the batteries?" He blinked, then raised an eyebrow. "Are you kidding me? There's batteries in these things?" I tried not to laugh, and that was the moment I knew this was going to be a great job. After a little digging through the supply drawer and a quick side quest to another desk for some spares, I swapped in 2 fresh batteries, flipped the switch, boom, LED indicator lit up, keys working like nothing had ever happened. He tapped a few characters, visibly relieved. "Well, that explains a lot. You just saved my morning." Lesson of the day: even in the digital age, the simplest problems, like dead batteries, can bring everything to a halt, and sometimes solving them is what earns you your first stripes. As I made my way back upstairs, I logged the ticket with a quiet smile. Not a bad start to the day, not bad at all. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Generic David. It says, "Always look for the low-tech solution first. Power and connections are frequent culprits." Agree with this commenter, the most common solutions are usually the easiest ones. I would have had a difficult time with this one though, not sitting down and having a fun exchange with the user about how electricity works. This story comes to us from TechieJ23, wondering what the thought process was for putting a mop sink above an IDF closet. So I get this call to troubleshoot a switch that had went offline. I get to the school, I head to the IDF closet, and I'm a few feet away from the closet and noticed a burning smell instantly. I open the door, no fire thankfully, but the entire room is engulfed with that burning smell. I see that the switch is not even powered on. The entire second floor has no network, no wireless, no Ethernet. Thank gosh it wasn't the MDF. I traced the power cable to an outlet near the ceiling, but that's not all I saw. I noticed water damage, dried up, but it's pretty noticeable. Right away, I had already knew that something leaked into this closet, and based off of the burning smell, this switch was done. But you know, we gotta make sure. Tried the power strip on the second rack, and still nothing. Keeping it simple, they needed a new switch. Took care of everything, but I ended up moving the switch to the other rack. But I had called the building engineer of the school prior to setting up the switch. I'm like, "Did something leak? What's above this IDF closet?" He says, "Oh, it's just our mop sink and it's been leaking for a while." Well, dude, don't sound so enthusiastic about it, but it killed our switch. He comes in the closet and I showed him the ceiling. I mean, he looked so surprised and seemed unbothered until I explained that no one on the second floor can access Wi-Fi or print because of it. But I'm not blaming him. Like, who puts a mop sink above a network closet? And what were they thinking? Not to mention outlets. Water and electricity don't match. Terrible idea. I definitely had a lot of fun today, for sure. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Chocolate Bourbon. It says, "At companies I've worked at, this sort of situation is typically met with a shrug and a promise to fix and do better, etc. What's gotten their attention is to mark the repairs and replacements against that group's budget. Then, suddenly, it matters. No new buffer for you, that's switch money now." Okay, so depending on the age of this building, I would be willing to bet that that mop closet was put in long before the network closet was put in underneath it. So we should probably ask the question of, why was the network closet put in directly underneath the mop closet? Someone there has some explaining to do. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.